Hello, we are on the latest episode of the Silverfox Hustle podcast, and we have a great guest on the show. I got to tell you that. But before that, please share the love with your friends, family. We are out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube as well. So please click on the subscribe and follow button. Like I said, we've got a great guest on the show today. We've got the national record holder of the 5,000, 10,000, half marathon, and marathon. He is the fastest. He is the fastest marathon runner here in Singapore with a time of 2:22 and 59. If I'm not wrong, but we'll check it out with him as well later on. He's got 2 gold medals in the SEA Games over 42 km, and recently concluded games in 2023. He got a silver in the 10k event. He is someone who speaks his mind, which sometimes has gotten him in a fix, but that what makes him a character. And here to speak to me, Mr. Run So Fast, Mr. Soh Rui Yong.
Thank you, Mr. Silverfox. It's a pleasure to be here. I see why the nickname came about. You have a very elegant silver crown.
Thank you so much, coming from you. Now, you are flying off tomorrow, we hear.
Tomorrow going to the Taiwan Open, yes.
Right.
I'll be competing in the 10,000 meters again.
Okay.
It was one of those meets where, after SEA Games, you don't really know how the next few weeks will end up, because some people come off the SEA Games extremely fatigued or a bit injured sometimes, because you really push your body to the limit.
Right.
So, but the decision for Taiwan had to be made quite long ago, because the planning, the flight tickets, accommodation, and everything.
Right.
And Taiwan Open is one of the best meets in Asia.
Okay.
Objectively speaking, they always get very good participation from the Southeast Asian countries, but also they get some Koreans. Sometimes they get Japanese.
Okay.
They get the Chinese Taipei team is actually very good.
Okay.
Their relay team is pretty close to world class.
Right.
They're certainly challenging for medals at the Asian Games.
Okay.
So that's exciting because these guys, they got the same genes as us, right? Asian genes, Chinese genes.
Okay.
So it's not like whatever they can do, we cannot do because of a genetic disadvantage.
Right.
But it's very inspiring to see their professionalism,
Okay.
their organization.
Okay.
The funding that goes in is something else, really. Pretty cool.
I'm ignorant. Is this a road race or a track race?
Oh, it's a track meet, sir. So it's got everything from 100 meters all the way to 10,000.
Okay.
Long jump, high jump. And their budget has been good to the extent that, in 2019, the last time I went, they had Andre de Grasse competing there,
Okay.
who was a Canadian sprinter who went on to win the Olympic gold medal in the year 2021 Olympics.
Nice.
So pretty cool. They get guys like that. Christian Taylor was there as well, I believe. They get one big star every year. I think in 2013 may have been Angelo Taylor.
Right.
So pretty cool.
Good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Next few days. When is the race? But is it on a Saturday?
My race on Saturday. The meet is Saturday, Sunday. So we Saturday, Sunday. A big reason why I'm going is, I'm 31 this year.
Okay.
I don't have too many Taiwan Opens left. Next year I might be having my exams I will be having my exams in May, so there's no guarantee I can come back for Taiwan Open. I might just stick around in England and do they got a very good 10,000 meters in London every year as well. So I'm not sure when my next Taiwan Open will be. And my sister is actually going this time, so I'm going to plug her in. My sister's doing the 800 meters.
Nice.
She just ran 2 minutes and 20 seconds at the Singapore Open. So her dream and her goal has been to get under 2:20 for 2 laps.
What's the time again?
2 minutes and 20 seconds for 2 laps.
Okay, there are 2 things there you said that you really make me sad. One is your age, 31, and then that timing of it. That's crazy, man. We will talk about that with timings and all as we go along, right?
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. Which school did you attended when you were like a young boy growing up?
So when Primary 1, I went to Mahabodhi.
Okay.
Mahabodhi school. My primary school is a Buddhist school located quite near my house, walking distance. Thankful for that, because we could walk to school. It was a pretty good school academically. Buddhist school, so religious values and teachings were there. I mean, I never quite bought into any religion, but I do think that being in a Buddhist school was pretty. It was good from the values perspective, because I think Buddhism is one religion that doesn't really impose their religious teachings on you, or they don't drag you to go to the temple, or you have to do this, you have to do that, God tells you to do this or whatever. It's really be a good person, karma, do the right things, live frugally, and don't indulge in excesses and life's excesses and sins and things like that. So it's pretty cool. I think that all in all, it was a good primary school experience. When I was in primary, I didn't attend primary 2 and 3 in Singapore though, because my dad was in the Air Force.
Right.
I think back then he was a captain or a major. Got posted all the way to the US.
Right.
And we didn't want the family to live apart, so whole family moved with my dad. I was in a small town, Clovis, New Mexico, for 2.5 years. It was a very surreal experience. As a kid, you don't really realize it. I think that...
How old was this? About 8, 9 years old?
I was in the middle of primary when I left. So I was like... I may not even have been 7 years old when we left. So... but you don't really know what's happening. You know, like one day I'm with my class for half a year, and then like one day I'm standing in front of class. I don't even know what's happening, but people are coming up and giving me like farewell notes.
Okay.
And it was I think my teacher may have like told them, oh, like Rui Yong is leaving, like farewell notes. And everyone wrote like nice farewell notes, like all came and gave me one. But it's a very nice experience, and now that it comes back to my memory, it was like very touching. And then. But I didn't even know what it was about. And then I left. And then next thing you know, I wasn't in Singapore for 2.5 years. But it was a very cool experience there, you know. American elementary school. First thing was that I was going to school with people 2 years older than myself.
Okay.
Because our math and science program is so advanced here, right? That when we go there, like, that's what's happening. Like, I will be going to school with people 2 years older than myself, and the Singaporeans will still be topping the class in math and science. Yeah, pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, but it also shows that maybe we got no childhood, like, you know, we study too hard.
I think you're right. You just took the words of there's too much pressure, my friend. Yeah. Too much pressure. And you've got a younger sister or an older one?
Younger sister.
Okay.
3 years younger.
Right.
Also in athletics.
Okay.
She works for Scoot in marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you came back to Singapore after that period there in the US, 2 years, and then you came back. And then went through normal Singapore.
Yeah.
All right. And CCA wise, were you always in that running path, or was it something else?
I only joined CCA in secondary school, man.
Okay.
But I must say that I was always quite active. I can't remember exactly what I did in primary 1. But I do know that when I was in the US, I played a fair bit of basketball.
Okay.
And from my memory of the time, when I played against the Singaporean kids, I guess I was also naturally gifted with some athletic genes, because we always play, but we soon realized that if there were 6 of us,
you'll be the better ones lah.
Yeah, so eventually it was like 2 on 4, or even sometimes 1 on 5, you know. I was just able to run after the ball quite a fair bit, so I guess there's a bit of like natural genes or like mentality or whatever it was. And then when I came back to Singapore, I didn't play as much basketball, but I played a lot of football.
Wow, in Singapore? Okay.
In primary school.
Right.
Yeah.
And how was it? Were you good?
Good comparatively for my primary school level, yes.
Okay. You could be one of the players that have been missed out, man. You never know.
I would say you never know. But I would say that, you know, in primary school, I was definitely like one of the better players in my primary school.
Okay.
But, I mean, one reason was that I think I was quite athletic. I could run. I could constantly run for the ball. And as the game wore on, you see people go from sprinting to jogging to walking. Like, I'm still running.
Okay.
Yeah. So therefore, I can get to the ball. Therefore, like half the battle is getting to the ball when you're in primary school, right?
Which comes to my next question, right? Since you said that. So what is it? Is it genes for you? The endurance part? Because you said this yourself just moments ago. You could go on and on and on like an Energizer battery, right? But what is it?
I think, I mean, end of the day you have to train, because like,
of course,
I thought my endurance was good, right? And I went to secondary school, Chinese high school. First training session for cross country. I mean, I got drafted into cross country because of I think CCA trials. You see that natural ability.
No, right.
But then you go to training, you are pretty much a secondary 1 boy. There's the Sec 2s, the Sec 3s, and Sec 4s. We all have years of training, and we go to Turf City, and it's like, okay, the Sec 4 boys are going 3 laps of 4.5.
Okay.
The Sec 3 boys are going with them. The Sec 2 boys will go 2 laps. Sec 1 boys try and make it 1 lap. I made it like 1K, and then I started walking.
Right.
Because you're just not conditioned at that level of fitness. And even now, when I take a break and I come back, like I can't even run my marathon pace for like 5K.
Okay, how long does it take for you to rest and then feel that, nah, this is not it?
Depends, man. It really depends.
Yeah.
Like, but there is a very steep drop off if you don't do any physical activity for like 1 week, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It drops off, and then you can get it back, but like it does take a while to get it back. Yeah.
Okay.
So consistency is key, as cliche as it sounds. Yeah.
It's true. I totally agree. So at which point did you think like running is the way to go, maybe, or maybe take it a little bit more seriously?
Well, I think like any kid in primary school, if anyone asks you what sport you want to join, it's always football, lah.
Right.
Football is easy to fall in love with. You have idols, your European idols.
Right.
Back when I was in primary school, primary 2, primary 3. Okay, when I was in primary 2, I watched my first Tiger Cup, and then Singapore got hammered 4-0 by Malaysia.
2002.
Yeah, so obviously that wasn't a great introduction to the national team.
Right.
But then in 2004, when I was in Sec 1,
They won it.
yeah. So I was at the National Stadium watching Singapore play Myanmar. You know, the one where S. Subramani,
The bottle got thrown at his head
hit
or
his
something.
head. Happened to the nicest guy on the pitch somehow.
Exactly.
Funny. I mean, like, terrible but funny.
Yeah.
Like, funny they had to happen to him. And I managed to meet Subramani during my time in sports. He's a super nice guy. I really like him. Is he still involved in football, like Subramani?
He's also at the IT at College Central.
Oh, nice.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And he's doing a little bit of coaching here and there as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Subramani, Indra,
Right.
Noah Alam Shah. Back we had Itimi Dixon and Agu Kashmir.
Right.
So this was the batch of footballers that really got us excited about football. I mean, I was also a Liverpool fan,
Right.
but obviously watching Singapore in the flesh and competing at the Tiger Cup where we could win was very, very cool.
Yeah.
And then 07, that was when Khairul Amri came out.
Right.
So that was pretty cool as well.
Right.
And then won 2 years in two
Right.
titles in a row was very cool. And then I think that was nothing until 2012, but it's been kind of dropping off since. But
Right.
it definitely helps to have like your national heroes to look up to.
Right,
Whatever
right.
sport you're doing, like it's nice to have national heroes in it. Better your sport, but other sports is pretty cool as well.
It's nice to know that you're rattling off names of a different sport, right? And,
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
wonderful. It's great. But you still haven't answered my question. When did you start
when did I
seriously think that running?
Maybe junior college.
Okay.
Like I always did it in.
You went to
secondary school.
Raffles?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Raffles. So I was very fortunate. I met Coach Stephen Quek.
Okay.
Who is also a coach educator and one of the lecturers in NTU
Okay.
for sports science. I do think that if I was, when I was in secondary school, I would go for training, but I also do other stuff. Like I would play football.
Okay.
Like almost every day.
Okay.
Like not really conserve my energy for training, so therefore be unable to give my best effort in training.
Okay.
And for me it was just checking a box. I just show up for training and then
Right.
compete lah. It wasn't that serious.
Yes.
It's only when I went to Raffles and then Stephen Quek had a serious chat with me and he was like, I think you got potential, but the way I observe it, I don't think you're applying yourself fully to the sport. I mean, this is not exact words.
At that time, were your times like what did he see that he says, okay?
I think he see me in training. So I had some training sessions when I was a secondary school boy that even when I was in secondary 3, and I think when I was in secondary 3, Mok Ingren was he was a JC2 boy.
Okay.
So he was the top JC runner. I was a secondary 3 runner, but
Okay.
I was keeping up with him on some very key sessions.
Okay.
On the track and
Right,
energy
right.
reservoir. So I think the coaches definitely saw something.
Nice.
Not just that I had the ability to do it, but I had the guts to go out there, and because not every when you're 15, 14, not even 15, not everyone dares to go and challenge the JC boys, but I think I did. So they naturally there's a bit of hierarchy in teams, and some are more respectful of the hierarchy than others. But I think for me it was doesn't really matter who's older than you. If
you're good enough, you're old enough, right?
You take them on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And not everyone dares to do that, and coaches do recognize that. Yeah.
I'm very intrigued with this what do you call it, going into sport and taking it seriously as well, because is it I don't know, in running, right, is it too late that starting bit to start off at that age and say seriously, or
Well, I think there are obviously for everything, the more time or years you spend applying yourself to it, the better. But there's also there's something called too early specializing too early,
right,
where you don't get
Burnout?
where you get burned
Yeah,
out,
get
or
burned
you
out.
don't really get to explore every sport that you want to do, and then you end up questioning whether
Okay.
this is something that you want to do. It's like if you did all you've done since you're 11 years old was this sport, and then at 15, 16, 17 you start to question whether or not this is actually your first love, or whether or not this is what you're meant to do,
Yeah.
rather than trying things and naturally falling into it in your 20s, and then
Yeah.
and you really enjoy it, and then you fully apply yourself to it both mentally and physically, and then you also get the full range of development, like
Yeah.
physically, like you get to do like agility sports, you get to do
Right.
like power sports, you do endurance sports, and then you can gravitate towards one, and you're more complete as an athlete as well. Yeah.
When you look back now, maybe when you were in secondary school, right? Did you think that you'd ever accomplish whatever you've done? Like just looking back at that time.
No lah, no way.
No?
No way.
There was no like plan, like, okay, I'm good at this and I'm gonna try to maybe break a record somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I think in your words that's correct. Like it was a record. Like like any record would have been nice. Like
Okay.
5K maybe, or maybe 10K. I never pictured myself running a marathon because it just sounded way too long. It was like 42K. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I would do that lah. But then you start to get more daring. You start, maybe I'll try, and then
Right.
also because I think the main gravitation towards the marathon came in 2014, 2015 when Singapore was about to host the SEA Games.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, I really want to do well at the SEA Games. It's on home soil. I mean, the ultimate goal is you win a gold medal on home soil. That's the dream.
True.
And then hear national anthem played on home soil. That'll be the dream. But there's only one gold medal in every event, and you're up against the best in the region is damn bloody difficult lah.
Right.
And I think judging by my performances at 5K and 10K at that point of time, I think the best I could get was bronze. There was no way I was beating Agus in the 10K. There was no way I was beating Van Lai in the 5K. So I was like, okay, maybe we have to do something daring. We go to the marathon.
Wow.
Like marathon is a lot more challenging an event, so it's a lot more
You think?
unpredictable. Yeah, exactly. So like even the best, there's no guarantee that they'll finish the marathon. Never mind do well in it.
Right.
Whereas unless you're so dominant like Kipchoge, and even he lost Boston recently, and I don't think many people saw that coming. So it's just one of those things where I felt that my strength lay in endurance. I always could run a bit longer than other people, even though I wasn't the fastest.
Okay.
My 10K was better than my 5K. My half marathon was better than my 10K. So I
Okay.
was like, I can slow down a bit, but then run double the distance. I can slow down a bit, run double
Okay.
the distance. So I was like, I think naturally that gravitates towards the marathon. It was a bit controversial because I was only 22, 23. I was only 23 going on 24 years old during the SEA Games year. So it was quite young for an athlete to be switching to the marathon. But, December 2014, I was like, I'll try one. If it doesn't go well, then fuck it. We go back to 5K, 10K, and then try and medal in that. But in my first marathon, it went very well. It was like the fastest debut performance in Singapore history, and at that point of time, it was the number 2 mark all time behind the national record. So I was like, okay, that shows.
Who held it then?
The national record was officially held by Ramachan. Yeah,
Right.
Ramachan. So I was like, okay, I think this is my calling. Let's try.
Wow. It's
And then Mok Yiran was like the top ranked marathoner at that point of time. But in my first marathon performance, I was ahead of him, ahead of his best mark, and he had run like 10 marathons or whatever it was, and my first one was quicker, so I was like, it wasn't that much quicker, it was like maybe 20 seconds quicker or 29 seconds quicker or whatever it was, but like it was quicker.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like this shows, of course every marathon has different course, different conditions, but he has run 10 and then this is my first one, so even if taking everything at its best, like I still think that I'm in the same league, and I had no experience. So I'm like, okay, SEA Games, we try marathon, and then I think the rest is history, because my first SEA Games marathon went very well. The favorite for the race, Eduardo Buenavista from the Philippines, he's a legend in Southeast Asia, like sub 29 minutes 10K, sub 14 minutes 5K, like that's unheard of in this region, and he's 151 or 153 is his height. Like really small guy, trains hard. Obviously aerobic engine, naturally gifted, but probably worked his butt off as well. Trains in Baguio City, which is like it's a certain altitude in the Philippines. And he just went on to achieve all these things, which was unprecedented for a Southeast Asian. And
Brilliant.
racing him as a debutant was obviously quite daunting, lah. But managed to pull it off. He didn't have a great day, so my chances were helped by kind of him having a bad day. But I still had to beat everyone else.
Right,
Which
of
was,
course.
and I was a Thai guy all the way until the last 250 meters when I managed to pull away. So that was very exciting, and and which was very cool because that was Eduardo Buenavista's last race.
Okay.
And then when I was at the SEA Games a couple of weeks ago, this kid came up to me and said, "Hey, Rui, can I get a photo with you?" I said, "Hey, sure, man." I said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from the Philippines. I'm Josh Buenavista."
His
And
son.
I'm like, "Are you related to Eduardo?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm his son."
Wow.
And I raced Josh in the 5K. So I was like, 8 years ago I raced your dad. Now I'm gonna race his son.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow,
So pretty cool, right? Yeah.
That's a great story, man.
Yeah.
That's a
So then I have a
great
photo with both of them. Yeah. The son is actually taller than him already.
because he's you can't do you I mean nothing difficult to do. He's 151.
Yeah, exactly. And then I asked, "Oh, who's your coach?" He said, "Oh, my dad. My dad is the Philippines national coach now."
Oh, brilliant, man.
Yeah. So and then he had a great first SEA Games. Josh ran
Yeah.
like 15. I think it was 15:12 or
Okay.
15:13 about there for the 5K. So PB. So for 21 years old, it's really not bad. So I guess his targets are to try and never mind be the national record holder, be the fastest in his own
Yeah.
family.
Excellent, man. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Now I want to touch about the running aspect. Specifics to running. As a sport like long or middle distance running, right? It can't be for everyone. It really isn't for everyone. What do you think is needed physically? Firstly, fundamentals.
Well, you see, long distance running, everyone can do it, as we find out through NS, right? Because we're all forced to run, and
Yes.
we all improve a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
If you're a non-runner, you improve a lot during NS, and it just shows that the human body can always take a bit more.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. We find out a lot about ourselves through running. But like you said, there is that genetic component, and that is the same reason why East Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, and recently Uganda, these three nations absolutely dominate long distance running. Like especially the 5K, 10K, half marathon is completely dominated by these three nations. Even though they make up 1% or less than 1% of the world's population, they dominate 99% of the medals.
Right.
So how is that possible? Is adaptation or is genetic adaptation over time?
Right.
Because they're not the only ones with mountains. They're not the only
True.
ones who train at altitude. The Americans and Europeans have much better facilities, but Europeans and Americans being able to challenge them is the exception rather than the rule.
Right.
When
Right.
you would think that better facilities, better funding, better training, recovery might belong to the Western world. It's the East Africans that are dominating.
Right.
I mean, yeah, there's, of course, there are other like more sinister theories at play. For example, because they are poor, they have less to lose if they decide to take drugs. And come on, like at the highest level, drugs is a lot more prevalent than you and I might like to think.
Yeah. Yep.
Because especially when my choice as a poor, never mind African, like never mind African or not, like, as a poor person, my choices are take a risk, like take drugs and try and feed my family by competing and winning like big prize money and risk getting caught, or don't take drugs and have no chance whatsoever.
It's a survival instinct, isn't it?
Survival instinct, exactly.
Right.
And to them, it's so common. Like in Kenya, so many top athletes have been busted for drugs, right? That you get busted for drugs, and okay, I mean, like they might just say, you also like. But life goes on. You go back and run your farm. Sometimes the money that you earn, not all of it gets clawed back. So you've already bought your house, your farm.
Yeah.
How are they going to come to Kenya and like snatch everything away from you? They can't.
Interesting.
At the best they can do is they withhold prize money till you pass the drug test, and if you don't pass the drug test, they don't pay it out. And they're doing this because they can't claw it back.
Right.
Whereas in America and Europe, I think they have a lot more to lose. Reputation is worth a lot more in developed countries.
How about mentally? What do you need mentally? Because it's a crazy thing, man. Especially when you go into the 42 km. Listen, I did one once.
Oh, you did?
I did one. It's on a bucket list kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So kind of like train for it and stuff. So I did it in 2012, I think. My first and last lah, basically, right? And I did it in I think 5 hours flat, right, for first time.
Nice.
And I'm just And as I was doing that run, right, I told myself I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
But there was a point where, I mean, for a first timer, right, I just felt pain in places where I've never felt before. It's crazy. I'm not kidding you. It's crazy, right? So I'm just thinking, the mental part as well. It's huge, man.
Yeah.
How huge is that?
Well, the more challenging the race, the more the mental aspect comes into play.
Right.
Like, obviously for the sprints, 100 and 200, I would say it's a lot more talent and physical conditioning than it is mental. Because, I mean, of course, the mental aspect is important. Like, not getting psyched out, not getting pumped up. But it's more getting pumped up and having that 10 seconds of utter execution, like complete perfect execution.
Yeah.
But distance is different, where you're not going to be perfect for 2.5 hours. You're not going to be perfect for even 30 minutes. But you need to endure. You need to sustain. You need to distract yourself from pain. And it's a very different mind game. I mean, Shanti has spoken to you possibly about the mental aspect of her sport. But it's going to be quite different to distance running, where, it's not just the training you have to get through, but you have to get through. And so much of it is, in a race, right? Like, especially if you're racing for a medal, a sprint is kind of like you execute your race, the result takes care of itself. But in distance, you can execute your race, but you can also influence what happens in the race that can affect other people as well. So what happens if I sense my opponent is suffering, what you do is you might be suffering, but if you go and search, you might break him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Vice versa.
Right.
Whereas sprints is like, it's not like that. Like, sprints you just stay in your lane, and distance, you can go in front, you can block people, you can slow it down. There's a lot more gamesmanship going on than in sprints. Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a very, very good point. Training wise, right? There is a loads to do with periodization as well, I'm sure, with marathon. How long does it take to actually maybe a stand chart marathon at the end of the year, right? So how long before that do you start periodizing? Is there like a
so I would say for marathons especially, I would say have at least 8 to 12 weeks of preparation, proper preparation.
And then when you say that 8 weeks, right? It's not like you're starting from scratch, as in zero fitness, right? It's you must have a...
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're starting from zero, then give yourself 6 months, I would say.
Right, okay.
Just to gradually build up.
Okay.
I mean, you can kind of chong, 3-4 months and try and do it. But of course, the risk for injury goes up and you're not as well prepared.
I think I read this somewhere about the marathon. You got to respect the distance.
Yeah.
Because if you are the first timer, you go in there, you think, it's okay.
The distance will makan you,
Exactly, man.
Especially in Singapore, where it's very hot and humid. Like, even for me, if I prepare properly, finishing the bloody thing is hard.
so it takes about 8 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks.
I mean, for me, because I run quite regularly throughout the year. But if you want to give me notice that, okay, do this marathon, I would appreciate at least 8 weeks notice. Yeah.
Injury wise, what's the worst injury you faced? Touch wood.
I tore my plantar fascia. In this was in March 2016, racing in the World Half Marathon Championships actually. Like, tore my left plantar fascia. So it's the tendon connecting your heel to your toe bones, the heel to your toes, and I mean, it looked like my heel, my arch had like a tennis ball inside after the race. It was like so swollen. Yeah, quite bad. So, but I managed to come back from that. But it was just like, even now, I'm sure my biomechanics on my left foot is a bit different from my right foot because it was torn. It's still torn. It's like still partially torn. So I'm more flat-footed on my left foot than my right foot. Yeah.
Right. So that's the worst.
I would say that was the worst. I mean, I also had a stress reaction. I had a stress reaction in 2016 that healed because I took 3 weeks no running just to let it heal, and then it went away. I had a stress reaction in 2018 that took maybe 3 or 4 weeks to heal. Generally, stress reactions come from like overly high mileage and insufficient recovery. So it just had to. I was running a lot more mileage then than I do now. So it was just a trial.
But you guys are like almost doing this almost every day, and I'm sure you're bound to feel it almost every day. Like while you're running, right? And people don't understand this bit about athletes in general, right? Every professional athlete, they face this every day. A niggle here, a niggle there, a knock here, a knock on the ankle. There's always something, right? But we still just push on sometimes, right?
I think most of the time, I mean, like you said, no one is going to be 100% every day, right? Like, if a bit pain and you don't train, then you're never going to train, you know?
Right.
Because, like, it may not even be someone tackling you. You play a game, no one can tackle you. You're still going to be sore at the end of the game.
Right.
Sometimes you're sore for a few days after the game.
Right.
But, I mean, I think it's part of that process is figuring out what is a normal soreness that you can train lightly through, and what is a injury kind of pain that is getting worse as you run.
It comes with experience, right?
Then you should probably stop. Exactly. It comes with experience. I mean, for running, the injuries that we get are very often overuse injuries. It's very rarely acute injuries like, someone tackling you or falling down. I mean, you can fall down. You can twist your ankle. One of my friends, Tony Payne, who was one of the favorites for a medal in the SEA Games Marathon, came back from he's a New Zealander with a Thai mom, I think. So he lives in London now, works as a lawyer. Came back to Bangkok for SEA Games 6 days before the marathon. Fell in Bangkok while running, broke his rib, so couldn't complete the SEA Games marathon.
Wow.
Yeah. So freak accidents do happen.
Yeah.
But more often than not is I have a stress reaction in my foot. My heel hurts. There's a stress fracture somewhere. These are the more common injuries for running. Or hamstring overuse, needs time to heal. It's often self-inflicted lah. Not like someone tackling you and then like breaking your foot. Yeah.
What does representing Singapore mean to you, Ryong?
I think that changes over the years.
Yeah, it does.
It does change over the years. It depends on this is such a man-made or self-perception concept, right? Like because this, like you said, what does it mean to me? So it means something different to everyone. Some people they put on the singlet, they'll look in the mirror and they'll cry. Yeah, I'm not that patriotic lah. When we played the national anthem at the stadium, when Shanti won the gold medal, I think played national at the stadium. I'm not gonna name who lah. I looked around, I saw one of the girls crying, even though she wasn't Shanti. She was on the podium. She was just standing around after the race. I was like, in my head, I'm like, siao, cry. I mean, like, in school, you hear the anthem, you cry, man. Like, you don't cry. What? But I guess it's different hearing it in the sports context,
Right.
But to me, I wouldn't. When I'm on the podium, I also don't cry.
Right.
It's just one of those things that I think it means, like you said, it means something different to everyone. Shanti did. I asked Shanti, hey, do you cry? It was raining, so I couldn't really tell. She was like, I did hear. So the rain hit it for you, lah. She was like, yeah. Shanti, I think the only time I saw Shanti cry on the podium was when she was a bronze medalist. She lost in 2017, so she was a bit she was very disappointed. But again, all this is self-framing, what does it mean to you? For me, I guess when I was younger, it was a dream. So like when I finally got to represent Singapore at the SEA Games and win, that was like dream come true. It was like, oh wow, like
brilliant.
And then obviously very happy to be on the podium, national anthem. 2017 I repeated, and I was in Malaysia. They were playing the national anthem in Putrajaya, so all the Malaysian Parliament buildings, right, in Singapore national anthem. That was very cool. And then over the years, and then now it's like, and then especially after I took a long absence from the team, wasn't then. I think when I wasn't selected for what I view is like very, in my view, it was quite petty disputes or reasons.
Right.
I started that representing the country started to lose its meaning for me. Like I was like, oh, if my selection depends on what some individuals think of my attitude and behavior, they may or may not be justified. I mean, like, since we're putting the past behind us, I'm not going to comment on whether I feel it's justified or not. I mean, they had their reasons for doing it. I won't argue with that now, but it was like, no lah. If it depends on what these individuals think of me, then if you tell me today I won't represent Singapore for the rest of my life, then okay, I'm fine with that. It doesn't mean so much to me that I'm gonna crawl back to you and back. It's like I've done what I wanted to do.
Right.
I know what representing the country feels like. It's just another race at the end of the day. You're just wearing your country's jersey, and of course, there is the added motivation because if I just run in my own jersey and I lose or I don't run well, okay lah, I mean just move on and do that. But when you're carrying the hopes and ambitions of an entire country, no matter we're a small country, but still entire country, that is something that really, like, I'm motivated to train a bit harder.
Right.
And sometimes I'm motivated to to push myself more in training.
Actually, it's more for the people, as in the expectations of the people as well.
I just feel a bit more fired up. Like, you know,
Right.
the 6 weeks prior to SEA Games, I was doing training that I was training at levels that I didn't think I would ever touch if
Okay.
I was just doing it myself.
Right.
Not that I can't, it's just that it's an added motivation. Like, physically, obviously I can, that's how I did it, but like mentally it just gives you that additional spark. And then then I had the experience of what it could be like representing a different country, because when I had the 10,000 meters race, there was a incident with about 5.5 laps to go where my Indonesian opponent, Ricky Martin Luther Simbolon, very cool name by the way, Ricky Martin and Martin Luther, so quite an epic name.
Yeah.
I think he was a bit sad already lah. All of us are sad, right? At the end of nearing the end of a 10K race in 35-degree heat, and nonsense weather. He reached out at we had to veer out to lane 4 to take water. And he reached out, he hit the bottle, didn't grab it properly, dropped. Then, I mean, I could sense the frustration lah, because, you know, if it happened to me, I would have been incredibly unhappy as well. Like, you take extra distance, you grab, and then you miss. Then I picked up my water. I planned to splash half, drink half, but then after I splashed, I stepped up and I was like, I can't remember what I said, and now when I look at the video, I still cannot figure out what I'm saying to him, because it was just instinctive. I wasn't even thinking. I can't remember what I said to him now, but it must have been something like, you know, like, hey bro, take, like, for you, and then he took it, he drank, and then we continued the race. He won. I didn't expect it to be such a big thing, but in Indonesia, that really made the rounds lah. Like, full credit to MediaCorp for this, because I think they did a very fast clip after the race, and then they named it like Rui Yong display sportsmanship or whatever, and then it went viral. I think it went quite viral here, but it went super viral in Indonesia, and then they started flooding my messages, my inbox, and I had deleted social media for the week of the game. So when I installed Instagram again, I was like, something's different. I don't remember having this many followers. My followers went up like
over the weekend.
Overnight basically, over 2 days. Like, I had 40,000 new followers. From Indonesia.
Wow.
So my audience base became from like 60% Singaporeans or 70% Singaporeans to 70% Indonesians.
You're a datuk there now, no?
Hey, that's the thing, you know. Like, if you represent the country and you win medals, right, you do get this kind of honors. So, and then the fervent appreciation and passion from their fans is really something else. And this is just like track and field. Imagine you're a football player in Indonesia, like how I mean, like, one thing to have that kind of like following, but the respect they offer to the appreciation, the respect they offer to their national athletes is really something else.
I wanted to ask you this question later on, you know, about this act, this gesture that you did, and and you said it as well. It happened instinctively. There's no planning. And obviously you can't plan for such things to happen anyway, right? Do you think it's underrated or overrated? Gestures like this, overrated, because I think, listen, what you did was great, and people don't know that you did this before as well. Didn't you? You did this before. Please tell us. You did this before. Way back when you were younger.
2017, the last SEA Games actually. It was also involved in Indonesian, also long distance race, but it wasn't on camera. I think it was on camera, but very poor quality.
Correct.
So it wasn't quite. Didn't quite. I mean, I think that back then no TikTok, right? Instagram wasn't as big.
Right.
So this short reels never really was a thing back then. I think there was an article in Today. And there was an article in the Indonesian media, but that was about it. It was nowhere near this kind of scale. But you know, it's different when you're racing on the track, because there are cameras everywhere compared to marathon, where unless you have a front vehicle following the race, which if there was, I think that could have been viral. The difference was that it was just
so this is so key, that, you know, sometimes it comes from upbringing as well. It's so instinctive for some of us. Like he falls, you help him out. He does this, you help him out. You know, that kind of thing. And it's great that you've done this. And for people who are watching this, and you know, we talk about you being misunderstood or whatever. He's done this before, by the way. way back, he's done this before. So it's not something new. And And by the way, we are just waiting for the letter from Indonesia to come to you, basically, to be the next Datuk there, right? I just want to ask you about your 5K, 10K marathon timings, right? What's you're holding the record right now for all?
Yeah. Took a while to get there, but I was collecting them over the years.
How proud of you? How proud are you of these achievements?
Definitely proud, because I mean it's more than just the time, right? But it's the entire journey.
Yeah.
Especially my first record was the 10,000 meters. That was in June 2014, and
okay.
I mean until today, that's
what's the time?
When I broke the record, it was 31 minutes and 15 seconds. Yeah. And before that, PC Supaya's record had lasted for 40 years, 41 years. It had stood so long, right, that people started questioning whether he actually ran 25 laps. Because he was like, no way, this guy can run 31:19 back in the day. And then his 5K was only this fast, his 10K cannot be that fast. And then, I mean, it's just, it happened so long ago, and there was no video.
Right.
I mean, it was a race in the Philippines.
Yeah.
I mean, and then, back then especially, people do miscount laps. But but how are you gonna prove otherwise, right? Once it's official, chopped is official. So I think there were one or two people. I mean, more than one or two people. There were people that were like, "Oh, finally because my race was on video and everything. I was like, we know for sure our record is legitimate." I do believe that. I mean, some of those. I mean, I think, but Supaya had also run sub 32 in Germany. It was 31:59 or whatever. But it was quite a big gap between his second fastest time and his fastest time. So, but that being said, he was a SEA Games gold medalist in the 10,000, so he was definitely the best of our time then. The question was just how did the record stand 40 odd years? Because not like we had lousy runners in between.
Of course.
Mr. Jagter Singh, who won a bronze medal 40 years ago. And then Mok Ingren ran 31:55 back in 2013, I believe. And then, but it was only when I ran 31:15 in 2014 that we basically got rid of that 40-year-old myth. And then not got rid of it. I mean, it's still in the record books as our record for 40 odd years. But I managed to get there, and the feeling when you get your first national record, I think it will never be replicated because it was I remember I finished that race. It was in Oregon somehow. I ran most of the race myself because the guys in front of me were too fast. The guys behind me were following me, and then they fell back. So then I finished. I had to sprint the last lap just to get the record because I was on knife's edge. I finished the race. I sat down, and then they announced that it was a new record. So I stood up. Then I suddenly had all this energy. And I stood up, adrenaline, and I ran. And after I couldn't run for a few days.
This is a weird question to ask, right? Because here you are competing against other runners to be first, to be second, to be whatever on the podium, right?
Yeah.
But then here you are also trying to beat your times. So what is it? Is it beating your opponents or competitors or your time? That which is more important? Because there is a correlation, isn't it? Like
I mean, certainly. I think and every athlete will tell you this, but there are competitions where the medal is a lot more important than the time.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Especially for long distance events, because if you're racing only in Singapore, if you're racing in Singapore, let's say some all-comers race, then nobody cares first, second, third. But your time is what is important because that's what qualifies you for major games.
Okay.
But once you qualify for major games, people care whether or not you bring home a medal.
Right.
Hey bro, you can break national record, you're in last place, sorry man. Nobody cares.
Right.
No, nobody cares. It's oh, you're national record but you're still in last place or what, then no lah. I mean you should rightly be proud of yourself because
True.
At the end of the day, what you can give is really your best. So even if it's not a national record, it's your personal best, you should be rightly proud of yourself.
Right.
But we go to SEA Games to bring home medals.
Right.
You want to do personal best, you go and do your own race. Right? If you go to the SEA Games, the be-all and end-all is really using that competition to inspire the best performance from yourself and hopefully bring home medals.
Listen, this is a very good point that you made, and then I've been watching the SEA Games over and over again every 2 years and whatnot, right? And then after a race, for example, after a swim, after a game, after whatever sport it may be, and then the interviews with the athletes, right? And the athletes always say, maybe finish fourth or fifth, and then but I did try my best, and I got a personal best, for example. And I'm thinking, it's to me, I'm just watching. I'm just an outsider looking in. It's not enough. I just feel that thing in my head. It's not enough. I need to win something. And I just feel that whenever they do an interview and the athletes come on and say things like that, they are okay with it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I don't know what's your opinion on that, because I'm just being cynical, right? And I'm not even a national athlete, so that's crazy as well. So I'm just thinking.
I think yes and no.
Hey.
So to a certain extent, the medal you bring home, your chances of a medal are hugely influenced by your opponents, right?
Of course.
And like, if everyone brings their super A+ game, and you get personal best, but everyone was just a bit better than you, then sorry, you clap your hands and say, okay, well done everyone.
Okay.
Like, you guys did well.
Hey.
In extreme cases, you have people like, let's say Cambodia. Cambodia, first time hosting the games, they wanted to put on a good show.
Yeah.
I think they did host a very good games for a first timer, but they did resort to certain things like buying players.
True.
From France,
Yes.
America, China, whoever. No Cambodian roots. Like,
True.
you just get off a Cambodia. Do you see their basketball team?
Yes. That was big, man. That was viral, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, imagine like, and let's take this to the extreme circumstance where, let's say I lined up on the start line in my best shape, and I look to my left, Cambodia has 2 Kenyan athletes that they bought last month.
Okay.
I look to my right, let's say Thailand has a couple of athletes from America or whatever that are newly naturalized.
Right.
And then you look to your left and right. Vietnam was in a drug controversy last month. Like, some of their medalists got caught using drugs, and then you don't know who's clean and who's not. And then the race starts, and then you get fourth. Like, you ran your best, but you lost to, let's say, a couple Kenyans, couple naturalized citizens. And you're fourth or fifth, but you ran a personal best. Can you actually feel that disappointed?
Yeah. I understand
Maybe
what you
can't.
mean.
Yeah. And you're not going to go out into the media and say, yeah, but they cheat one lah. Like, or you can say the politically correct answer.
I'm waiting for someone to say that, man.
I mean, that'll be extremely viral, but he also probably get disciplined by SNOC lah for breaching like media guidelines and like putting the sport in disrepute, and any one of the 101 code of conduct rules that they have in the team membership agreement. So I mean,
I want to speak about timing as well, right? Because I'm at IT. We do the IPPT, the 2.4, right? This 2.4 is the people hate it. 2.4, the students hate it, right? Your 2.4 timing is 6:53. 6:53, your best 6:53.18, I think. I don't know.
Well, my best 3 times is 6:50, which was last year.
Oh, okay.
6:53 was was the one that started everything, and then 6:55, which was in between the two.
So you did a 6:50. That's your fastest.
Fastest, yeah. Last year August. Yeah.
So what do you do? So what do you sprint?
It's not an all-out sprint, but it's very close to your threshold. Like, I mean, it's faster than your threshold, but like, it's very close to that. You have to find that red line where any faster you're building up lactate.
Right.
Any slower you're not maximizing your performance. But 2.4 is quite a punish. If you want to run it all out, it's quite a punishing distance. But yeah, I mean, in the context of things, Eliud Kipchoge, the world record holder for the marathon, when different conditions obviously. He's a much genetically he's a much more gifted athlete. Professionally, he's a much better trained athlete. He ran that pace for his marathon when he broke 2 hours.
For his marathon?
Yeah, when he broke 2 hours, he ran 6:52.4 pace times 15 or 18 or whatever, how many 2.4s there are in a marathon.
It's almost not human, man. It's crazy, man.
It's crazy. So when you and then even the Indonesians like Agus Prayogo, my friend who competed, he won the marathon in SEA Games, 4th in the 10K this time. His best time ever at his peak of his powers in the 5K, he's running that pace for double the distance.
Yeah.
68 seconds is 14:10. Yeah, he's run 14:10. I think he's run a bit faster, 14:08 maybe. So he has run 67, 68 seconds for 12 and a half laps. So when you put that in context, it's like, okay, 6 laps only, I should be able to run 68 seconds per lap.
Wow, crazy.
650,
It's whatever it is, man. I totally respect what you guys do and the timings that you. It's like I said, you guys are not human, by the way, right?
Yeah, I mean, we try to push the barrier even further. So
Yeah.
this year, our
Yeah,
2.4
yeah.
kg challenge.
Just going to that, right? Do you think you can push on for the 10, 5, and 2.4? Sorry, 42 in terms of the timing, national records. I mean, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think that my 5K.
Yeah?
Again, at the moment, my 5K personal best set in Singapore. I do think cooler conditions, better competition, I
Nice.
can go faster.
Okay.
I just set my 10K national
Yep.
record in 35 degrees heat, so with
Yeah,
better
man.
pacing, more even pacing, because SEA Games is like, you're not trying to run a fast, like I said just now,
Yeah.
SEA Games is not about running a fast time, it's about destroying your opponents. So
Yeah.
if I'm not gonna, let's say if I'm running in front, right, I'm not gonna run like like nicely. I run every lap the same pace so that it's very predictable.
Yeah.
I'll run one lap fast, one lap slow, two
Yeah.
laps fast, one lap slow, just to throw people off.
Right.
Because that's when you can dictate the race.
Yeah.
Why gonna make it predictable, right?
Exactly.
Like, for everyone to follow. So that's the challenge, and that by doing that, you're not maximizing your own performance, but you're maximizing your own chances, and that's very different from maximizing your own performance. Yeah. So time trials are very different from
Right.
tactical races when it comes to long distance. So that's the interesting part. In context, also for further context, my sister's 800 meter personal best is 2:20, so that's 1 minute 10 seconds per
1:10,
lap.
yeah.
So that's 7 flat for 2.4 if she runs her 800 meter time 3 times. So obviously, for girls,
Yeah.
it's different. Like genetically speaking, men are supposed to be stronger,
Right.
or more testosterone.
Yeah.
It's just genetics. So if my sister can run 2 laps at 7 flat 2.4 pace, I should be able to run the whole 2.4 like a bit fast, like at the same pace if not faster.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the context. So when she's going to Taiwan, she's gonna try and run below 220.
Yeah.
That would be like 650 something for 2.4 pace. Yeah.
Nice. Now, Ryong, we're going to talk about something. We're going to talk about you personally, right? And you know the controversies that hit you over the past couple of, few years, or actually many years actually, right? And we're not going to talk about that specifically because I think everyone can YouTube it, can go and Google it. That's over, because I think if you want to talk about that in detail, it will take 2 or 3 episodes of the podcast. Let's talk about, because with all the controversies with Ashley and the sponsors, and this led you to not competing in 2 SEA Games, as well as last year's Asian Games as well, 2020.
Well, the Asian Games wasn't held, so
Yeah, exactly.
Got postponed to this year.
Right.
But
And-
yeah, I wasn't selected for the first
Right.
round for that. Yeah.
Now, just looking back with all that in mind, what is your biggest takeaway from these episodes?
The biggest takeaway would be that you can be speaking the truth, you can be right, but if it's causing people certain, maybe especially like people who call the shots, to lose face, you may not have the outcome that you so desire lah.
Yeah.
And I think this was quite a rude awakening, because when I was working for Sports Singapore back in the day, one of my bosses back then actually told me, because I was arguing about something that factually I was right, but it was not being implemented or corrected for other reasons lah. And he told me, Rayong, I just want to tell you, like, I don't know how you think truth works in this world lah, but truth doesn't win in this world. Power is what is right. Say truth is not right, power is what is right. And to me, as a young 20 something year old, I say go and die lah, like.
Right.
Yeah. So are you admitting that power is used to cover up truth? I mean, I didn't say that directly to his face. I'm just like, what? But I mean, in many ways he's proven to be right, as to how, not just how things work in this country, but in this world really. And we've seen injustices in the region. We've seen injustices in developed countries, or like big countries.
What do you learn about yourself from this?
I've learned that where most people will just back down and just go like, okay, whatever. I was quite stubborn in not wanting to submit to a false narrative just because a powerful force was a powerful authority was was like pushing that
Right.
down my throat or down the throats of the people lah. So I think that won me a fair set of followers and
Yep.
admirers, but I also think that it's a very costly process.
Yeah.
It can be a very costly process because, you know, at the end of the day, we are so small in the grand scheme of things. At the end of the day, systems
Okay.
have been built over years. People who have control over these systems can use these systems to create narratives or bend others to their will.
In this obviously these episodes it was a setback. What kept you going? Like, you know, did you feel I don't know, you talk about mental issues and stuff like that. Were you like depressed along the way, or what kept you going? What the fact that, you know, it was immense pressure obviously from everywhere, right? And then, you know, it accumulated over the course of a couple of years. What kept you going?
What kept me going was, you know, knowing that I was standing. I was factual. I was standing for the truth.
Yep.
And I think, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to keep going if I had lied or if I had been following a false narrative lah. Because, I'm not crazy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I was just like, you know what, like, I in a sense I knew I believed in what I was standing for. I knew what I was doing was right, and I was also a bit curious as to how far could certain people go just to tear down a narrative that I know to be true. And if I was going to, but at the end of the day, when I observe, like after many years had gone by, I did notice that people can go quite far to protect to protect a loss of face or whatever it might be.
Nice.
But eventually, none of us came out looking good. We all patched up, and we have we've patched up as best we can be, and I'm back representing the country again. So a big thank you to everyone on either side that has allowed me to come back. And I think that what we managed to create, the SEA Games, was good for our image, but also good for our cross-cultural and bilateral relations with Indonesia and some of the other countries that I've been able to like bond with during my time there.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic, and hopefully we see what's really important to us.
I would ask you any regrets, because I think, we got to move on. There's no point saying that I regret.
No regrets,
yeah.
But certainly some things could have been done better. Yeah.
Would you say hi to Ashley now? Have you?
I
After
have not seen him, but
Okay.
ever since this whole thing broke out, I think we were at the same race maybe in 2018, 2019.
Okay.
Stand Chart marathon, and maybe the Army half in 2019. There was no Army half, so it was 2018, 2019 Stand Chart. I've always, when I see him, I will look over at him, but he's always avoided my eye contact. So I think to me that tells you something about the guy.
Okay.
But I would say hi to him. Yeah. I have reached out. When the whole thing was going on, I actually did send him a text and say, hey, if you ever want to settle this out of court, I'm happy to do it. But he never got back to me lah.
Right.
Yeah. He got back to me asking who was this, and then I told him it was me. I just wanted to check if you want to settle this out of court so that we don't get drawn through a long process. And then there was no reply. So I guess he was just leaving it to the lawyers or whatever. Yeah.
Now, in your blog, right, before the SEA Games, you said this, I recognize that my confidence may have come across as arrogance at times, and for that I sincerely apologize now. This is a question I have. Right? Are you arrogant, or is it just a game face? I'm talking about purely based on the competitions that you take part in, right? So are you just arrogant, or because I feel that as a top class athlete, you got to be arrogant in a way?
I think, like you said, it's confidence, and this brings on from the previous question, because you asked would I say hi to Ashley? I'm confident in myself. I'm confident in what I stand for. When you're that confident and secure and self-secure and secure in yourself, you're not scared of anyone or anything. I will say hi to Ashley. I've said hi to ministers when people run away from ministers because they're scared to. This guy, I don't know whether I can talk to him. I've said hi. I talk to whoever, and some people might see that as this guy is very very cocky. He thinks the world of himself. He thinks that he can talk to anyone. But to me, it's but the flip side of that is, I'm confident that I can talk to him. I can hold a conversation with anyone. And if you're avoiding eye contact with me and you're the one that doesn't want to talk to me, then that probably says more about you than it does about me, because I know what I stand for, and if you're the one that, to me, the one that has something to hide is the one that's running away.
Yep.
I don't have anything to hide. I'm happy to talk to you.
Nice.
I'm happy to talk to anyone that that I come across, friend or foe already, because end of the day, we're all humans, lah. End of the day, we all die at the end of the day. Like, what you want to, like,
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I talk to you, I don't talk to you. I may not like you 100%, I can still talk to you, like, and like, at the SEA Games, at the end of the day, we're one team. Obviously, on the team, there's some people that I'm closer to, some people that, we're all different personalities, but at the end of the day, we all are part of Team Singapore, so support each other when it's time to support each other. No one's asking you to go to bed with everyone, no, to people that you don't like at the end of the day, but that's just my belief. I fully appreciate that other people may not have the same set of values, but so my confidence a lot of it is built from sports, actually. Like, when I was younger, I actually hated public speaking. I was just talking to this with a lawyer I met yesterday, Mr. Harpreet Singh Ni Hao, who's a senior counsel. He was like, "What? I could never tell that you didn't like public speaking." But when I was like secondary school, RI, Sec 3, Sec 4, I used to hate it when the English teacher would make us like give a 2-minute speech in front of the class.
Okay.
I was like, "Shag lah," like the 2 minutes feels like forever, Then you have to memorize the speech. I hated memorizing speeches, but once I competed, in full stadium.
Yeah, it comes with experience and all.
Then SEA Games. Competing in front of that big a crowd, eventually, what is giving a speech to 50 people? What is holding a conversation with 5 people, no matter how important they might be?
Yeah.
End of the day, all this pressure is self-perceived, self-inflicted, and once you free yourself from that, you can feel like you can do anything.
Brilliant. Ryong, we've come to the stage where it's the quick fire round. I'm going to ask you 10 questions. It's easy peasy for you, I'm sure. Right? First one. What's your pre-race meal or drink?
Pre-race meal or drink? Well, that's changed over the years. It used to be Milo, then it was coffee, and then
Milo, okay.
Milo, because it's marketed as the sports drink, right? So I definitely now Pocari Sweat for sure. Hydration, especially in like hot and humid conditions. But I also will have I do a protein and carb mix from Pure Nutrition. Which is really any whey protein powder that you can mix 2 scoops with like 2 scoops of electrolyte drink. Shake it up so you get protein, electrolytes, easy on the stomach. My roommate during the SEA Games was Dr. Ang Chen Xiang, who won the gold medal in the hurdle. So I did learn a bit from him. I was like, hey man, I need to talk to this guy more often, because he was like, I was asking him about race day nutrition and stuff like that, stuff that I probably should have figured out a long time ago. But he was like, on race day it's advisable not to eat as much, because when you're nervous, your body goes into fight or flight mode, so your gut doesn't digest as well. And I was then thinking back, I was like, even last year I had some races where I ate probably too much before the race, and then during the race felt that your stomach is a bit heavy. So it's better to resort to liquid nutrition before a race, because it sits easier on the stomach. So I was like, that's incredibly sensible. I can't believe that I'm finding this out at the age of 31, but just in time for my 5K, 10K, and I ran well at the 5K, 10K. So props to Dr. Ang for his last minute tips.
Brilliant. Music you love most? What kind of music?
I love Maroon 5. I do listen to a bit of Eminem to get pumped up before races.
Great. Favorite runner of all time?
Favorite runner of all time? When I was younger, I won't name. I used to look up to certain athletes that I later figure out were quite suspicious performances, so I will no longer name them. Myself. I'll say myself.
Well done. Your biggest regret? Can be anything. Not only at races or whatever.
Biggest regret? Don't have too many of them, because I think life experiences and choices make us who we are today. I think I've learned from all my choices and actions, and better for it. Really.
Your biggest accomplishment?
Biggest accomplishment? I think, sports-wise, certainly winning my 2 SEA Games marathons has to top the list. But
Nice.
I mean, I think I'm very proud of all my 3 SEA Games performances, and I think these are all like memorable moments for
Brilliant.
not just myself but for Singapore as well.
3 words to describe yourself. Any 3 words?
3 words to describe myself. Passionate.
Okay.
Confident.
Yep.
And resilient. Sometimes to a fault. Yeah.
Your pet peeve.
I mean, I think people can probably tell by now my pet peeve is lying lah, and
Okay.
I would really like stand up against it, sometimes to a fault as well.
What motivates Soh Rui Yong?
What motivates me is challenges really, because I do feel that
Okay.
to me winning when your opponent is not as best or it's no fun. It's not shock. Like even if I win, it's not shock. But when my opponent is at his best, firing on all cylinders, and then I get inspired to bring my A game,
Yeah.
and then I win, that's when it's the most shock. And even if you lose, you know you lost to a prime opponent and you gave your best effort. So, yeah, I think that's it's one of those things where, you know, even when I played football, I wouldn't go and take on the defender that is slow.
Okay.
Like, I mean, even though that's the fastest route to go, I always want to play on the side where, like, I know my athletic friend is playing, and then take him on. So
Nice.
Not the most efficient, but that's what's fun for me. Yeah.
Who would you love to be with in a deserted island? One person that you can choose.
Okay, I have to pick my girlfriend, bro. This one.
Got no choice,
No choice. Natasha.
Okay. Natasha, if you're listening in, you have the choice.
Yeah.
Last one, right? Now, tell us something that nobody knows about you.
Something that nobody knows about me. I mean, okay. I think people may not know this about me, and people may have this misconception about Singapore athletes in general. But they all think that we're on super strict diets and everything we do is calculated, right? I mean, bro, I drink alcohol.
Okay.
I do have a good time. Obviously, don't go and drink so much the night before a race. But you know, that yesterday, I was meeting this like I mentioned earlier, Harpreet, the senior counsel for a drink, and then he read that I was going to Taiwan Open. He was like, "Hey, I read you're going to Taiwan this weekend. You can drink. We can go and have something else. You can go and drink water. You can drink coffee somewhere." And, hey, no man, right, relax. Like, I'm fine.
Fair enough. That's a great answer.
Yeah,
Now,
so I relax lah. I'm more relaxed than people would think.
what's next for Rui Yong for the next maybe a couple of years? What's in store for you? Maybe go into coaching? I don't know. Tell me.
You know, coaching is something that I think I'll be very passionate about. I've done some coaching in the past for on my own scale,
Yep.
personal scale. But you know, coaching, unfortunately, and this is part of the sports ecosystem that's really missing in Singapore. But our successful athletes, very few of them go on to become coaches because it's not a very sustainable career lah. You know,
Okay.
No job security, no financial stability.
Yeah.
You know, no, and not that this. I mean, we all there's not a lot of like reputation, credibility as well. Like, at the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all a product of our environment. We do care about external validation, rightly or wrongly. You know, and in Singapore, you know, and it's very pronounced in Singapore. You're a doctor, a lawyer. Like, wow, this guy, like, you know, very smart, must be very rich, whatever. And if you're a coach, and then your girlfriend's parents are probably gonna tell you not to marry this guy. You know, I mean, like,
Natasha,
not everyone.
marry him, please.
My girlfriend's from Thailand. So
Okay.
A bit different. But even herself, you know, I mean, she didn't notice when I first met her. It was in London, and she didn't know who I was, what I did.
Yeah.
But you know, I never told her I was a Singapore athlete. I was studying law. So, and then she slowly got to figure out that I was actually quite a okay athlete myself, and then her whole family
athlete.
Yeah,
Okay.
her whole family was very excited watching me at the SEA Games.
Right.
So I asked her, you know, if I told you I wasn't studying law when I first met you, I was studying like sports science or what, would you have gone out with me? She was like, I probably wouldn't have, like, because that's the reality of their perception. Like, they're like, oh, like this one,
True.
like didn't study in school, you know,
Okay.
or whatever, right? And like I said, I think in Asian societies is like that lah. Obviously
Well,
now,
you will be a lawyer soon, so that's a good one.
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
so-
I want to do sports for as
Right,
long as I
right.
can.
Okay.
End of the day, it is my passion, my hobby, and if I can do a future career related to sports
Brilliant.
and make a good living from it, more than happy to do that. Yeah.
Finally, Rui Yong, before we leave, just one word of advice for any future marathoner coming up the ranks. You know, a youngster coming up. What would you give him or her?
Definitely don't be, I mean, it's easy to be intimidated because, you know, from where you are, you look at, you know, even the Singapore records or the SEA Games level, it seems so far away. But, you know, one step at a time, just focus on being consistent. Like, you break it down into month by month, year by year, you'll
Yeah.
be surprised at the progress you can make. You know, I really wish there was a better pipeline or better developmental system for athletes in Singapore. It is kind of missing, you know, when I was in SEA Games in a dining hall, my Indonesian friends from the distance group, they come in
Yeah.
like a gang, you know, like
Okay,
come in like
okay, okay.
like a team, really. They come in and then like they will take their food and they're like, hey, Rui Yong, and then they'll come and sit with me, or Chen Xiang was there one day and then they're like, hey, what's your team? I'm like,
This is it.
You're asking about the Singapore team or the distance team? Or what a distance team? I said, we don't have a distance team, bro.
This is it. This is it.
Yeah, this is it. It's myself, Jivanesh, and Sean. And
Yeah.
then like, you know, we're all different coaches, different programs. So it's
Yeah.
not like we have all different schedules and everything. It's not like them, all of them train in Bandung. Like
Yeah.
same coach, same program. And then, you know, they work hard together. They go for SEA Games together. They're one unit lah.
Well, you know what? I think this is a great way to end the podcast. You know why? Because this could be something that you could do to start something actually for the young marathoners to come up and a proper pipeline, so to speak. You know, and then there's development and stuff like that. That's a good way to start, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, talk is easy. I mean,
Yeah, of
these
course,
guys.
of course.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, they are funded by the Indonesian military.
Yeah.
All they do is train and compete. I don't see the SAF doing it for our people here, but like, you know, we all work jobs. We are in school. We find ways to make it, but yeah, you do need a pipeline. So like Indonesia is quite standard. You know, you go through uni. If you're good at the end of uni, you get recruited by national team. You accommodation, food provided. You get allowance. You just train and you just. Every 2 years, you peak at the SEA Games. You bring glory to your country. I'll show you later. But Ricky, who won the 10,000 meters, there was a big victory parade back home. I think
Wow.
his army camp or whatever. They put him on top of the tank. He was in salute position. They drove down the street. You know, soldiers on both sides, men on one side,
Wow,
women
that's
on
class,
side
man.
clapping, and then video cameras everywhere. And then the tank went by. You think it's done? It's like behind the beating the drums. It's like Prince Ali in Aladdin. You know, when
Wow,
Aladdin had the
yeah,
parade
yeah.
to the Princess Jasmine's like
Class, man, that's class.
I'll please put it into the podcast. I'll show you the video. But
Brilliant.
It just shows the difference, lah. Difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Rui Yong, thank you so much. Our best marathoner ever. Thank you for being on the podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure, you know, listening to your stories as well, you know, and of course, as frank as ever. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Well, this has been the latest episode of the Silverfox Hustle podcast. And like I said before, don't forget, share the love with your family and friends. We're out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, we're everywhere actually. So please click on the follow and subscribe button. Till the next episode, the hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. Cheers.